Today on the Bandrew Says podcast, we'll be discussing YouTube rolling out a tool to help you avoid copyright claims, Facebook being down, and the Samson Q9u, so go ahead and stick around. Let's start with some good news from YouTube, because YouTube gets crapped on all the time. When something positive comes out, I always like to share it because I like providing positive reinforcement to the folks working at YouTube. They rolled out a new tool called Checks, and this tool is implemented while you're uploading a video, and this will help you identify any content within your video that is in the Content ID system. Now, I don't believe this is rolled out for everybody because I checked on all of my channels and it was only available on one. I don't know if it requires you to be monetized or not, but I will walk you through the new upload process so you understand how this has been implemented. Like always, you'll select the file that you want to upload. You'll get to enter the title, the tags, the description, the thumbnail, all of the SEO stuff. Then you'll get to select if you want monetization on or off, as well as the type of monetization you'd like, whether you want pre-rolls, post-rolls, or mid-rolls, over the video ads, all that kind of stuff. Then if you're a part of the program, you do get to the screen where you self-rate or self-check your videos for ad suitability, telling them what type of content it is, if it is anything controversial or something that may not be suitable for ads, anything an advertiser may be averse to. Then you get to the upload screen where you add your end screens and your cards to drive more traffic to other videos. Then you get to the new screen or the new section, and this is titled Checks. This is where you'll have to leave it for a few minutes for your video to finish processing. And once your video is processed and the algorithm, the AI, whatever the program, once it runs through and analyzes your video, it will give you green check marks in terms of the ad suitability, but more importantly, it will inform you if you have any copyright claims. And as I alluded to already, this is all done through the Content ID system. And what that tells me is this will help solve the issue that a lot of large YouTubers seem to run into, where they will upload a video, it will be live for 15 minutes, you see the video disappear, they have to edit the video and then re-upload it because they had some automatic Content ID claim, meaning the revenue for the entire video was claimed by some third party. It's going to resolve that issue. It will tell you up front before you even publish if there is something, and hopefully it will tell you where in the video that copyrighted content is. But I don't think this is going to solve one of the other really big issues that's not just on YouTube, but pretty much anywhere on the internet that allows for Content ID claims, and that would be manual Content ID claims. That is something that will continue to be a scourge on every platform that people upload user-generated content. But as far as the automatic Content ID stuff, that appears to be, I shouldn't say resolved, but we're seeing YouTube start to address it and roll out tools that will assist in making edits prior to uploading so you don't end up uploading, deleting, uploading, deleting, uploading, deleting. Ultimately, I think it's a good move, and I think we ought to applaud YouTube when they do something good. So good job, YouTube. Well done on rolling out a useful tool that people will hopefully get a big benefit from. Next, I hope that if a video does get demonetized, that they include the timestamps of the specific moment that led to the demonetization, and then also provide a quote of what policy was broken and why your video was demonetized. Maybe they've already done this. I'm a bad person to be addressing this because I don't do anything that's really controversial. I don't upload any copyrighted material, so I do not have too much experience with this. I don't have much experience with this, so I'm not able to tell you exactly how this automatic Content ID check system works. Maybe I'll try uploading a copyrighted piece of... No, I don't want to do that to my main channel. I will not be doing that. And I'm not going to upload a video of me saying a bunch of stuff that breaks YouTube's policy. That would be a terrible move. That's it for that piece of news. Next, we have some Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp news. And I am sure the majority of people, if you do use these apps, already know this news. There was an outage of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. If you don't know, all of those companies are owned by Facebook. And it appears that the issue was resolved the same day. They came out and made a statement that it was not due to some kind of hack. There was no security vulnerability. There was no leak. It was just a system issue. They may as well have just called it a glitch. Somebody probably just unplugged something that they should not have unplugged, and it led to a huge outage. I just wanted to include this because I wanted a chance to say, everybody say it with me, this is why you need your own website. That's the entire news story. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp went down. Remember, get the people's phone numbers that you like speaking to. So if these applications we use to interact with one another disappear, you still have a way to contact them. Hell, maybe even get a paper address book. Put their name, put their number, and put their mailing address on there so you can send them letters too. Don't store it all on your phone. That can die. Your phone can disappear. These apps can disappear. Do yourself a favor. Go buy yourself a paper contact book, a little black book, and put names and numbers and emails and mailing addresses there so you have ways to contact people if these modes of communication disappear. If Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, if they all disappear, save somebody's number. It'll do you some good. And the last piece of news is another good piece of news. This comes from Twitter, and I never thought I would say that sentence. Good news from Twitter? What a rare occurrence, and I am going to applaud them for this. I don't even see my 2FA token, and you may be able to guess what that means. This good news is in reference to two-factor authentication. Twitter is now going to allow you to use two-factor authentications on iOS and Android, and you won't need to have any other alternatives. So you will be able to use a physical two-factor authentication token, a YubiKey, a Google key, whatever the hell those are called. I will link the Twitter status in the show notes if you want to read up on that. But holy crap, it's great news. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here about security of your accounts. If you have the ability to, you should always have physical two-factor authentication turned on. You should have SMS-based two-factor authentication turned off because that is incredibly insecure. Either have the physical token, a YubiKey, or have an authenticator app. An authenticator app, not an authenticator app. An authenticator app. And that authenticator app will give you a much better level of security compared to SMS-based 2FA, but the physical token, I keep bumping the microphone, the physical token will give you the best and most secure access to your accounts. And just remember, if you have 2FA turned on and you have a bunch of different versions and a bunch of different methods turned on, your account is only as secure as the least secure version of 2FA. Have all the tokens you want, the physical tokens, but if you still have SMS 2FA turned on, your account is not very secure because somebody can grab a SIM card for your phone number and gain access to your account that way. But good on you, Twitter, for rolling out more options for two-factor authentication and physical tokens on iOS and Android. Again, another round of applause for a company. Good job, Twitter. I will applaud you when you do something good, which is a very rare instance, so good on you. Next, let's talk about what I have been testing, and you have been listening to it. It has finally arrived, the Samson Q9u. This is an XLR USB dynamic microphone. There was quite a delay on this thing. I pulled up the episode. I spoke about this microphone because it was announced at NAMM 2020. NAMM 2020, I believe. And this episode of my show that I first discussed it was BSP episode 200. 53 episodes later, It was originally released the 20th of January, 2020. I don't know exactly what led to the delays, whether it was just due to COVID, whether they saw some of the competition coming out with their offerings and then making adjustments to improve upon it. Not really sure, but we do finally have it. Full disclosure, this was sent to me by Samson to do the review, which I will be doing on Podcastage in a couple of days. As far as the sound, flat, I really wasn't the biggest fan of it, but once I throw on the mid boost, which is how you are hearing it, I think it is a pretty tolerable sound, and I am using it in the XLR mode. I am not using it in the USB mode currently. In the full review, I will have XLR versus USB on the same microphone, which you can do simultaneously, and I will also do Samson Q9u, MV7, SM7B, all sorts of ATR 2100, all of those compared to this one to see how it stands up against them, how it compares, if it's worth the additional $130 over the Samson Q9u. Something I will say, it definitely is not as sibilant as the Q9u, which is one of the main complaints that I had about it. The Q9u for $50 to $70, still an outstanding value, but I did find it to be quite sibilant, and this seems to resolve that issue, but I cannot wait to share the back-to-back comparisons of all of the microphones so you can hear where it stands. There you go. That's what I've been testing. Now let us jump to what you had to say. And the first comment comes from Chaz, and he says, I'd say if someone wants a character to sound even quote-unquote less manly, apply a high-pass filter, anywhere between 45 to 80 Hz at 6 to 12 dB per octave, as it will thin the voice out and make the talent sound a little weaker. And we also had a comment from I Don't Want a Channel, I'm Just Commenting, and they say, I would like to disagree about the EQ of the audiobook. The goal of EQ is not to make the mic sound good, otherwise they would do that at the factory. The goal in this case is to make each character's nuanced voice sound good. After the character's voice has been practiced and is consistent and repeatable, it would require a different EQ. Just like James Earl Jones and the nanny named Fran need different EQ, even if they could share a mic with perfect microphone technique. And the reason that I included both of these comments is I wanted to share a couple of people who have differing opinions than I do. Last week I said, I don't think you really need to do much in terms of EQ. You don't need to do anything to improve the sound. But Chaz came in. He is a voice actor. He is suggesting that you could apply a high-pass filter to achieve that effect of a weaker character if that's the goal. And I do think I actually suggested that if you are going for that kind of effect, that you could do that. So I agree with Chaz there. And I Don't Want a Channel, I'm Just Commenting. Absolutely. If somebody wants to have different EQs, I'm just sharing my opinion in many of these things. Nothing I am saying should be taken as the gospel. I am an idiot who records in a room. Do not listen to what I say and think, oh, that's the end-all, be-all of everything, every topic that he is discussing. Do not do that. I am a stupid person. I don't even know how to read. Understood? Next comment comes from A Tutorials. They say, I watched your old podcasts. So good. They were crazy. But now I feel you've gotten serious. Might just be me, though. A Tutorials, I have no idea what you're on about because I feel as though I am far from serious and I feel as though I am far from sane. The last year, I have gotten a bit wacky and a bit weird and a bit out there at times. I don't think that I'm very serious at all. Maybe I do cover a bit more stale topics. I don't just talk about technology. Oh, look at the new keyboard. Look at the new Mac. Ooh, yay. I don't talk about that as much. I talk about how certain things are going to affect content creators. So I do tend to be a little bit more serious in my analysis of that. But I'm also, I don't think I've gotten overly serious. I still feel like I'm a crazy person. Maybe that's just me though. I don't know. If anybody thinks that I am too serious, hurty-gurty. I don't care. Tell me in the comments. Am I too serious? Next and last, we have a comment from Scab. They say, or he says, unpopular opinion. I want free stuff. Scab, thank you very much for this comment. I had to include this because I find this to be a terribly interesting topic, the idea of free products. The first thing I will say is, I don't think you have an unpopular opinion. I think there are many people in this world who would love free stuff. I think there is a disconnect here, though. What you think of as free stuff, I do not think of as free stuff. When I, as a content creator, receive a microphone from a company, that is not free stuff, because that product does not come free of expectation or obligation. I will have to spend 6 hours testing out that microphone and playing with it before I start working on my outline. I'll have to spend an hour on an outline, spend 3 hours filming, spend another 2 hours editing, then do all the SEO, do all the promotion, make the thumbnail, publish, and then provide that company that sent me this microphone, this piece of gear at no cost with my audience that I have built up over 6 years. So although from the outside you may view me receiving something or any content creator receiving something at no cost as something that is free, I don't view that as free at all. That 20 hours that I spend on that video is valuable time. And to be clear, I am not saying anything negative about the content creator company relationship. I think it's perfectly fine. I think it is somewhat mutually beneficial. I think the content creator they find themselves in a situation where it's easier for them to continue to make videos about products. The company is going to do a cost-benefit analysis and determine if we send a product that is X dollars to a creator of this size, we expect to see this many sales in return. They expect to see that based on the exposure they will receive. And if the company does believe in the product, they're going to assume that a content creator is going to give that product positive coverage. It does not always work that way, but that is what they are going to at least hope to receive. They believe in their products and they hope that they will get positive coverage, ultimately leading to a growth in their revenue. That's the end goal for these companies, grow their revenue. And something else that I want to touch on very briefly, companies do not send out this gear out of the goodness of their heart. They are going to look at every single person who asks them for gear or look at all the creators that are out there in a specific niche and do a cost-benefit analysis. They are going to think, how much does this cost to manufacture? $100. How much does it cost to send? $50. Will we get more than $150 in returns in profit from sending this to creator X, Y, or Z? They are going to think about it that way. They are going to think about it as a business transaction because that is exactly what it is to them. And I guess to summarize, just remember that your time, that your talent, that your audience, that all has value. And when you are making a video on a product, you are returning value to that company that sent you a product at no cost. I don't view it as a free product. If I was getting a free product, I would just get something in the mail, walk away, do nothing. That would be a free product. But because I feel an obligation to make a video, make a review about a product, which is why a company would be sending me something, or why I am contacting a company asking for something, I am going to make a video, and that takes time. That offers access to my audience, to 240,000 people, whatever it is. And that is valuable. So if you are a creator, please remember that you receiving something for free is not receiving something for free. You are receiving something that in turn also comes with obligations and expectations. Please just remember that, and I appreciate you leaving that comment because it gave me this ability to rant and probably tick some people off. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about the company-creator relationship. Just do your best to be as transparent with your audience as possible, because that is something that you should be doing. The only reason that any of us reviewers can exist is because we're able to develop trust with our audience. So be transparent with your audience. Do not hide the fact that you receive something for free or at a discount from them. Don't do that. That will erode any trust that you have. Also, do everything in your power to ensure that your coverage of a product does not change. It is not affected. It is not influenced by the fact that a company sends you something at no cost. And like I said, remember that your time is valuable. You producing a video is valuable. There is a monetary value that can be assigned to that. Think about your hourly wage. Think about all the time that you put into learning how to edit videos, how to develop audiences on social media, how to use YouTube effectively. Think about all of that and understand that a free product is not a free product. Now let's jump to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome back to the Ask Bandrew segment, the section that I answer questions, kind of like I did already, where I address feedback and questions and all of that stuff. But you send in your questions differently. That's the difference between what you had to say and Ask Bandrew. If you do want to send in a question, you can send in audio and video. Go to askbandrew.com. There are instructions on how to send in both of those versions. You can also send in an email, but I suck at reading, so I prefer not to do that. An added benefit to sending in audio and video, we get to hear how you sound on your audio gear and microphone and everything, and that is always a ton of fun. First voice submission comes from Fritz. Take it away, Fritz.
Hello, Bandrew. My name is Fritz. I've been a podcaster for about 7 years now, and I'm a huge fan of your show, especially the mic critique segments. I've made a lot of purchases based on your recommendations. And I have a quick question for you. And let me tell you what I have first, and then I'll pose the question. I have an RE20 with the regular shock mount, the 309A, into a cloud lifter, into a DBX-286S, and then into my Tascam console. For some reason, it has developed a hum, and when you tap on the mic or the boom stand, there seems to be an apparent hum, almost like electricity across it. And I have tried everything. I even upgraded to the Mogami cables, and I changed the mount, and it still is sending this electricity up the boom arm and the mic. And then when you speak in it, it's almost fuzzy in nature. So I'm really hoping you can make me feel like an idiot and tell me this is really simple and what to do. Thanks, Bandrew. I really appreciate it.
Fritz, thank you very much for the voice submission. To reiterate, he is running RE20 into the Cloud Lifter, then into the DBX-286S, then into the Tascam. And there is some kind of electricity hum that has been developed. It sounds as though that wasn't always there, then something happened, and it appeared one day mysteriously, and he does not know what caused it. I know you want a very quick answer that just says, oh, you're being silly, here's the solution. I honestly have no idea what would be causing that. I have zero idea. Therefore, I'm going to recommend that you try to isolate the piece of gear that is causing the issue. First thing I would do is remove everything from the chain, run the mic direct into your interface or recorder. Is the noise still there? Is the digital interference, the electricity, still there? If it's not, then throw in the cloud lifter, microphone cloud lifter interface. Turn on the 48 volts phantom power. Is that electricity, is that hum, that 60 cycle hum, 50 cycle hum, is it still there? If not, then throw in the DBX-286S. Is it there? And that will help you at least pinpoint what piece of gear is causing that. I have heard an increasing number of people complaining about the DBX286S and an electrical hum that they hear. Sometimes it's actually picked up in the recording. Sometimes it's actually an audible hum that they hear coming from the device in the room, but it's not necessarily in the recording. It's very possible that it could be that. But it's important that you troubleshoot and try to pinpoint exactly in your signal chain what is causing that, because that will help you determine if you need to replace something, if something is still under warranty, if you can send it back, get them to repair it or replace it. That's the route I would go. And frankly, I have no idea why gear goes bad. I have no idea what causes that, why it starts generating electrical interference. Normally, my first suggestion would be check your cable routing, make sure you didn't start running an XLR cable or any of your cables directly over a power cable or anything, a power supply. But since you did just get the Mogami cables, as you addressed, that really will not be causing a problem because the Mogami Golds are quad cables, meaning they do an excellent job at EMI and RFI rejection. So it would not be caused by that most likely. Just check it anyway because you're going to be working on everything. You're going to be taking pieces of gear out, putting them back in. Make sure the cables are routed properly. And if anybody listening to this has another suggestion about what may be causing an electrical interference in Fritz's recording to appear out of nowhere, leave a comment on YouTube, youtube.com/Bandrew Says Podcast, episode 253. Thank you very much, Fritz. Sorry I cannot be of help. Let us know in the comments or send in an email if you find out what was causing it, or maybe if you solved it, because this was from August, September, around there. Let me know. All right, next we have a voice submission from Tim. Take it away, Tim.
Hi, Bandrew. Love your podcast. I'm a rank amateur. In fact, some might say I'm a rank smelling amateur, but I digress. I would very much enjoy and appreciate your explanation of what you call the Doobly Doo, or the specifications of a microphone, their various meanings and implications, in an explanation as only you can. I would find that very, very helpful. And please keep up the good work.
Tim, thank you very much for the voice submission. As far as what the Doobly Doo is, that is what I labeled the lower third, and that is a name that I stole from the Vlogbrothers, who had actually stolen it from Wheezy Waiter, who was another YouTuber. And I had a run-in with Wheezy Waiter, and I gave $250 to charity for an unofficial, unserious license to continue the use of the term Doobly Doo. And I don't remember the charity I donated to. It was on Twitter, and it was at Wheezy Waiter's recommendation, because he said $250,000 to use it. And I said, I don't have $250,000. Tell me what charity you want, and I'll donate $250. That's the Doobly Doo story. Then let's talk through microphone specs. This will be very brief. I'm not going too into depth. If you're watching on YouTube, I have thrown up on the screen the U87AI spec sheet. Not all of the specs, but the typical specs that you see on a microphone spec sheet. Polar pattern. That tells you what area around the microphone is going to be picking up audio the best, as well as the worst. What area around the microphone you can use to reject the most noise. Cardioid means you're picking up audio in front of the microphone. The rear rejects the most audio. Omnidirectional means it picks up audio relatively equally all the way around the microphone. Figure 8 means it picks up audio well in the front and the rear of the microphone, and then the sides of the mic are completely dead and reject the most audio. Then you have frequency range or frequency response. This tells you what frequencies the microphone will actually pick up. 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz is the standard human hearing range. As people age, they lose a lot of the top end. But in order to get a basic understanding of the tone of the microphone, you do need to look at the frequency response graph, and that will tell you what frequencies, what sounds are going to be louder, what sounds are going to be more quiet. more quieter. It's really difficult to explain that. I have a video on Podcastage about frequency response or frequency range, something like that. It's very old, but check it out. Then you have sensitivity. That tells you how loud a microphone's output is, how loud the microphone is, which ultimately leads to how high you're going to have to crank your microphone preamp. And negative 60 dB is classified as quiet. That is what the SM7B's output is. And negative 30 dB is quite loud. That's going to be a pretty loud condenser microphone. So between negative 60 and negative 30 dB is where you'll see the majority of microphones. The Aston Element, the Aston Stealth, is one of the rare cases where I saw something louder than negative 30 dB. And when you engaged the mic preamp inside of the Stealth, you were getting around negative 16 dB in terms of sensitivity. There are some preamps where you won't be able to use it with that because it would be too loud and you would be distorting the preamp, even if the preamp was turned all the way down. Crazy loud. Then we have rated impedance. This tells you the impedance of the microphone. All you need to know is the typical range will be from 60 to about 200, and the higher the impedance, that will increase the noise that is generated by your microphone's preamp. The lower the impedance, the lower the noise generated by your preamp will be. If you have a 60 ohm microphone, that's going to be good. The preamp noise is going to be relatively minimal. If you have a microphone that has an impedance of 500 ohms, the noise generated by the preamp will be significantly louder. On the note of the preamp, load impedance is the minimum recommended impedance of your preamp. This is typically going to be 5x or sometimes 10x your microphone's preamp. So if you have a microphone with an impedance of 60 ohms, you may see a load impedance of 600 ohms or 1,000 ohms. And many preamps are 2,500, 2,000 ohms and up. They will work with the majority of microphones very well. Then we have equivalent noise level or self noise, and this tells you how loud the electronics inside of the microphone are. This is a spec that is only really represented on condenser microphones, not dynamic. I'm stupid. It's on condenser microphones because they actually have amplifiers inside of them. A good figure here would be below 16 dBA, and anything above 16 dBA, you're starting to get into some murky territory. I would say around 20 dBA is when it becomes pretty bad. If you can get below 10 dBA, you're in good health. You're in good company. Really quiet microphone that's not going to cause you any problems there. Then we have max SPL. This tells you how loud of a sound source a microphone can handle before it actually distorts. A good figure here is 130 dB, 140 dB. 150 dB is bonkers. To give you some context, rustling leaves would be 10 decibels, background noise in the suburbs 35, soft music 55, a vacuum cleaner is 80 dB, a large orchestra is 98 dB, iPod at max level 100, noisy nightclub 110 dB, military jet taking off 130 dB. If you are miking up a jet engine taking off, you will have to pay attention to the max SPL of a microphone. For the majority of us singing or doing podcasting, it's not going to come into play very much. The U87AI is 127 dB. The U67 is 117 dB. I'm not going to get loud enough to distort that with a guitar cab because I don't play very loud, or with my voice. There's some context for you. And lastly, supply voltage. That's how much power a microphone requires to function. This is only going to be pertinent on condenser microphones, or there are, in rare instances, active dynamic microphones. It'll tell you if it needs phantom power or not. If it needs phantom power, typically that means 48 volts. There are rare instances where a microphone may need 11 to 24 volts. That's a bit rare, but that is a thing. And it should not be damaged if you do give that mic 48 volts. Hopefully that gave you the information you wanted, Tim. Hopefully that wasn't boring for everybody else. Lastly, we have a voice submission from Eric. Take it away, good sir.
Hey, Bandrew. I watch lots of your content on YouTube. You seem to be a really good guy, so I was wondering if you'd give me a life advice. So recently, I made myself some pizza and I was half drunk. Actually, maybe I was 5/4 drunk. But what ended happening is I put my cheese over the toppings rather than under. I'd like to know what your opinion is on that. Should I keep it a secret and not tell anyone about it? Or should I just get out of the closet and even order pizza with asking to have the cheese on top? I know you like pizza, so I hope you'll have an opinion to share. Thanks, bye.
All right. I just have to say, drunken pizza eating is the absolute best. Hearing you talk about that makes me want to start drinking again. I'm not going to do it because I know where it leads. I'm not going to do it, but it sure as heck makes me want to start drinking again. Why when I start talking about drinking do I start to get a southern twang on my voice? I don't know. When I was in college, we had so much fun. We would have study groups. We would drink beers while we were in the study group, studying finance. We would study until our heads were ready to pop. Then we would go to the bars. We would drink some more there. Then we would go back and study more while we're a bit tipsy, a bit more tipsy than we ought to be. And we would always order pizza. The pizza we would order, jalapeno and bacon. You wouldn't think it would work, but my gosh, does it. It works really well. I just had to share that because I miss that, and drunk pizza is the best pizza. As far as your question, are toppings under the cheese okay, or is this blasphemy? Should you hide in shame? Should this be a dirty little secret on the side? Embrace it. Embrace it. There have been many times where I've had a pizza where the toppings are underneath the cheese. It works wonderfully. It's delicious. The one reason why I am not 100% in support of this is if you are in a situation where there are multiple pizza types and different folks are going to be grabbing different slices and not everybody likes everything. There have been many cases at an office party where they have the toppings under the cheese and I take a slice of pizza thinking it's a regular cheese, only to take a bite and find out that I have taken a bite into the disgusting, horrifying mushroom and olive. It's horrifying and disgusting, and I hate life at that moment. That's the one instance where I do not 100% support toppings under the cheese. If you are going to be in an environment, in a situation where multiple people will be selecting among different types of pizza, have the toppings on top. Be kind. Let people know what kind of pizza they're actually getting before they get their grubby mitts on it and get it all germed up. Do that. But if it's your pizza and no one else is sharing it, which is how all pizzas ought to be, take the pizza for yourself, then put the toppings under the crust for all I care. Make it how you enjoy it. Put the toppings under the cheese, put the toppings on top of the cheese, put the cheese in your mouth, put the toppings in your mouth, and then chew it up. There you go. Be kind. Be kind. Share the toppings, make them visible for others, but if it's yours, enjoy. And I think that's it for this week's episode. I have nothing else to say. Pretty abrupt ending, eh? I got nothing else. All right. Thank you so much for being here this week. Thank you so much for listening. Again, we used the Samson Q9u this week over XLR mode. No high pass filter, but we do have the mid boost on, and golly, it picks up a lot of handling noise. If you bump the cable, everything picks all of that up. Let me know in the comments what you thought of it. And I love you. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you, and we'll see you then. Remember, go check out geeksrising.com. Bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.